Hello everybody, MunchyTCG here, and welcome to something that is a little bit different on this channel, or a little bit new on this new channel, which is a deck profile. This is something that I've been thinking about doing for a while, and I recently, just this weekend, went 5-0 at the OTS championships at my locals, playing Memento, pure Memento, so I decided what better time to give it a try than now. So you'll have to bear with me, because there isn't scripted or anything. I'm basically just going to try and give a brief overview of the cards and what cards are starters and why we play certain things. If you do enjoy the video and if you do enjoy the deck profile, be sure to leave a like or subscribe. You don't have to, but it does help a lot. And also leave a comment if you have any questions regarding things I decided to play. Of course, you can take this with a pinch of salt. This isn't set in stone. You don't have to play everything that I say to play. You know, play with it how you want. So let's just get right into the deck profile. So starting off with the starters for the deck, we're playing 3 copies of Memento and Anguish, 2 copies of Memento and Darkblade, and then 3 copies of Memento Tatsunoto Shigo, or Tatsu, or Horse, whatever you want to call it. So generally, these are the main starters that you want to see in your opening hand. I personally play 3 and 2 of the Anguish Darkblade ratios. Some people opt to play 3 and 3. Some people find Darkblade to be better, so they play 3 and then 2 Anguish. In my personal opinion, I think Anguish is the best starter in the deck, just because its effect being on summon means you haven't got to worry about them destroying your cards before you can even activate them, because a lot of the Memento effects are all ignition effects. But generally these will all link in with each other anyway. You'll either summon this and then on summon search the horse, or you'll summon this, which effect will special summon from the deck. You special summon the Anguish searches the horse. The horse is generally probably one of the best cards in this deck, just because of the sheer amount of resource it can give you, because it sends cards from the deck to the graveyard, Memento monsters whose levels equal, total, or less than the destroyed monster. So you destroy this and you can send like 2 if not 3 monsters. There are some times where you'll summon a higher level monster and you'll destroy that and you just get to send even more, and it's just insane. So these are like the main cards that you want to see in your opening hand. These aren't the only cards that really are 1-card starters either. We are playing 2 Goblin as well. Now Goblin, we are playing 2 of it because we are playing the Goblin Barker quick play spell. If you aren't playing the Goblin Barker quick play spell, you can just play 1. I personally think the Goblin Barker quick play spell is very, very good in this deck, so I'm playing 2 Goblin. Another 1-card star is Mace, which, I mean, I say 1-card star, it's probably a little bit more of like a 1.5. It lets you search for any Memento card, so depending on what you have in your hand, you can combo with it, but generally Anguish, Darkblade, Tatsu, and Goblin are your 1-card combos. This is kind of like a 1.5. Both of these also have really, really neat effects. If you have the big boss monster out in the field, combined creation, during either main phase, Goblin can make your Mementos untargetable for the turn, and Mace is actually a change of heart, a quick effect change of heart, which is really, really powerful in the right circumstances. So those are kind of the main pieces of Memento decks. Now we're going to go into the cards that you don't really want to see in your opening hand, but the rest of the Memento engine. Starting off with this little shit, Memento Gatic. Anyone who plays this deck knows how frustrating it is to open this card, because it does kind of skew if your combos, because generally you want to send it to the graveyard, because its effect triggers by being sent to the graveyard by a Memento monster's effect, where it can be special summoned back. So yeah, you really do not want to see this in your hand. However, it's a rite of passage playing Memento that you will see this card in your hand every now and then, unfortunately. We are then playing 2 copies of Memento and Sleepy. The reason I used to play 1, and you can play 1 if you want to, that is completely fine. Personally, I've really been liking playing 2, because Sleepy is a really nice extender, because if a monster in your possession has been destroyed by card effect, you can special summon it, and then on summon it's a fusion using Mementos from hand or field, or for a Memento fusion using monsters from your hand or field. So it does make for like a really nice extender, because if your opponent, let's say for example you're playing like against like a detonator or something, they pop it, you summon this out from your hand, it's nice and easy, you get your Twin Dragonoid Creation King online. But again, if you want to play 1, you can. I have considered going back down to 1, but 2 just feels really, really nice at this point. Next, we are playing 1 copy of Memento Nakahiron. This card is probably one of the biggest game stealers in Yu-Gi-Oh today. This card can be special summoned when a monster when a monster is destroyed, a Memento monster is destroyed. You can special summon it, and then when it's special summoned, level 9 or higher Memento monsters can attack directly when you can activate that effect. So basically it's an OTK, because Creation King is 3000 attack, the fusion monster, and then the combined creation, the big boss monster, is 5000 attack, so you can summon this, get those two monsters out, and just swing directly at your opponent for AK, even if they built a wall. It also has a really neat effect where when it's destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can add a Memento card from your grave or banish back to your hand, so it's also really, really nice recursion. There are times where your opponent might banish your combined creation, and then they might not and then they kind of forget about this card, and you can just add the combined creation back and carry on using it. And then lastly, for the apart from the boss monster, one Horn Dragon. This is another card you don't really want to see in your opening hand. You kind of want to search for it later on in your combo, because you can only special summon it if you have 3 or more Mementos with different names in your graveyard. But it is really, really good interruption on your opponent's turn, because when it's destroyed on your field by battle or card effect, you can target a Memento card you control and 2 cards your opponent controls, destroy them both. So generally one of your biggest ports of interruption will be activating Bone Party, destroying this, summoning something like Anguish. You can then go chaining 1 Anguish to search, chaining 2 Horn Dragon, pop in the Anguish and 2 cards on your opponent's field, destroying those, and also chain blocking your Anguish search, which is really, really powerful. And then lastly, of course, for the Memento monsters, the big boy himself, Combined Creation. This card is really, really insane. It cannot be normal summoned or set. You have to special summon it by shuffling 5 Memento monsters with different names from your hand or graveyard back into the decks. When your opponent activates a card or effect, you can special summon a Memento monster from your hand or grave on the resolution of it. And then if it's the only monster you have on field, you can attack all Memento. Your Combined Creation can attack all monsters your opponent controls once each. So it's a very, very nice OTK enabler, especially because of this card here, Bone Party, which when on banish, you can give it piercing. You can banish the Bone Party to give this piercing and just swing into everything, which is really, really nice. So that is it for the Memento monsters. Now for the Memento spells, we are of course playing 3 copies of Bone Party, 3 copies of Fusion, and then 1 copy of Memento Midland. So Bone Party, you destroy a Memento monster from your hand or face up field to either add a Memento with a different name from your deck to your hand, or special summon it in defense. And then, as mentioned just now, you can banish it from the graveyard to target a Memento you control to give it piercing. Generally you'll target this thing. Memento Fusion is the fusion spell for the deck. You fusion summon, it's a generic fusion spell. You don't have to fusion summon a Memento monster with it, which is really, really powerful. One other thing that's really, really powerful about this card is that if a Memento monster, or if a monster in your position's been destroyed by card effect this turn, you can actually shuffle back Mementos from the graveyard back into the deck as fusion material, which is really, really nice, especially on your opponent's turn when a lot of your effects that activate destroy things. And then lastly, we are playing the Memento Midland. You only have to play 1 of this because the fusion monster that we're going to go into a little bit later on can search it. When it's on the field, your opponent cannot activate spell or traps until the end of the damage step with the Memento monster battles. When a monster has been destroyed, you can target the destroyed monster and summon a Memento with a lower level from hand or graveyard. That doesn't have to just be a Memento monster as well. This can be a any monster that's destroyed, or any monster that is in your control. Obviously, you can't just summon one of your opponent's monsters and then go from there. So but really, really powerful. And then during the end phase, you can set a Memento spell or trap back from your graveyard onto the field, which is also really nice. Gives you that extra bit of interruption during your opponent's turn. And then for the honorary Memento spell, we are playing 3 Goblin Biker Grand Breakout. So this card is really, really powerful because it tributes as cost, and it says special summon 1 goblin monster. So notice how that doesn't say Goblin Biker, it just says Goblin. So Memento Goblin qualifies as a legal target for this card. So the best scenario I can think of for using it is, say for example, you normal summon Darkblade, you activate Darkblade's effect, your opponent tries to either Imperm or Veiler the Darkblade. You can chain Goblin Biker Grand Breakout, tributing the Darkblade for cost to special summon out the Goblin, and then Darkblade's effect will resolve, destroying the Goblin to summon Anguish from deck. So not only do you get the Anguish search and your opponent wastes a hand trap, you also just get that extra body in graveyard for when you need to summon Combined Creation at the end of your combo line, which is really, really powerful. I really, really think playing a max amount of quick play spells in this deck is highly important, just because one of the best things that this deck is good at is playing around hand traps and being able to chew through your opponent's hand and your opponent's board like it's nothing. So I really like playing like the max 3 Bone Party, 3 Fusion, 3 Grand Breakout. Some people play 2 Fusion. I personally do not agree with that whatsoever, but it's to each their own. Lastly, for kind of some more non-engine searches, we're playing 1 Prosp and 1 Reinforcement of the Army. I have considered taking Rotor out, but I do really like it. Prosp is just really nice because our extra deck is really free, because we are playing Slayer in this build, so we have a bunch of Slayer targets in our extra deck that we can just pitch off for Prosp. So yeah, so these are kind of just the last bit of non-engine spells. Now for the non-engine, we are playing a breaker build of this deck. You can play a hand trap build if you want to. I personally find that Memento is a lot better as a breaker build, just because, again, as I mentioned, this deck chews through half boards like it's nothing. So if you play a bunch of breakers through your opponent's board, not only will you be able to kind of push through it, but then you should be able to really either OTK them or set yourself up very well going into their next turn. So for the non-engine, we are playing 3 Ultimate Slayer, 2 Triple Tactics Talent, 1 Harpy's Feather Duster, which I'll be really honest is just kind of there as like an extra card. This is probably going to be swapped out for something else. 3 Forbidden Droplet, 3 Infinite Impermanence, and then 1 Call by the Grave, just because of those pesky dimension shifters that are around. So I do really like this kind of ratio, or this kind of breaker setup I've got going on. I am kind of considering, as I mentioned before, taking out the Duster. I might put in like a 3rd Triple Tactics Talent. One card or cards that you could potentially look at putting in are the Mulchamis, like Perulia in the side or Fualos. I currently do not own those. However, obviously for people who don't know, Perulias have just been reprinted in Maze of the Master, and we are getting a Fualos reprint in Quarter Century Stampede, so I will most likely be having those cards very soon. But this has really been working really nicely for me. Imperm is really nice, just because you can use it during your opponent's turn if they go first. So for example, if they can't try and make duo drive, you can stop that, or just go in sec, or if you're going second, you can just hold it and then just use it as a board breaker on your opponent's turn by just, for example, Fiendsmith, they make Caesar in the draw phase, you can just get rid of the Caesar straight away, which is really nice. So that is it for the main deck. We are playing 42 cards, which I think is perfectly okay. I perfectly think that I definitely think a deck like Memento, you can play more than 40. So yeah, I've really been liking it. I have found it very consistent, apart from, of course, always opening the damn Gatic, but unfortunately that is something that I have signed up for playing this deck. So let's get into the extra deck. So starting off with the fusions, we are playing 2 Creation King and then 1 Twin Dragon. So I used to play 3 and 2. However, I wanted to make some more room for some other like non-Memento fusions. And also, I don't think Kashtira is as much of a concern, so we don't have to play like an extra one of this. Although I did get paired up against a Cash player during one of my OTS championships, which is a little bit terrifying, but thankfully we managed to get through it. For the like generic fusions, we're playing 1 Dragostapelia and 1 Guardian Chimera. This is one of the reasons why I decided to cut this down to 2 and cut this down to 1, is just because Dragostapelia with Memento Fusion, you can return one of these back into the extra deck as fusion material, so you have it for your next turn during as a disruption. So and then Guardian Chimera is just Guardian Chimera. It's super powerful. But yeah, I really like this kind of fusion ratio. And then we go straight into the links. We're playing 1 Artemis, the Moon Maiden. We're playing 2 Charmers, Dark and Liner. The reason why I used to not play Artemis, I actually used to play a Slayer target for Synchros, which was Ending Master Packbit. However, I just found that it was never really coming up, so I decided to put this in because I wanted easier access to Liner, because you can just link Anguish off for this, and then you've got an active way to go into Liner because it's a light. Because Liner is surprisingly powerful this format. If you don't know, now you know. For the end board pieces, we're playing 1 SP Little Knight and 1 Herald of Mirage Lights. I really really like Herald of Mirage Lights. I think it's brilliant to have going first game 2 or game 3 when there's been siding. Generally, if I'm playing against an opponent and it's game 2 and I'm going first, for example, and I know my opponent's probably sided in some breakers, I will try my best to get this out with mace in hand. A lot of people may wonder, you've got to use your mace, you can't use mace afterwards, but basically you should be summoning Akihiron back during your opponent's turn and then popping that Akihiron again, which can add you back the mace so that you can use it for the steal effect of combined creation afterwards. And then obviously SP is SP. Lastly, for like summonable extra deck monsters, we're playing Selene Access Code. This is just really, really nice. Access Code is actually really good for multiple reasons. Obviously, you make it with like Dark, you get like 2 pops that your opponent can't respond with. But there have been a couple of times where I've managed to win because I've gone Access Code Talker, get rid of a couple of cards, and then pop itself to allow for my combined creation to be able to attack all my opponent's monsters. So that is one thing to keep in mind as something that you can do. So lastly, for the extra deck, we are playing 3 Slayer targets. We are playing Garura, Aggregator for Xyzes, and then Tri-Brigade Bucephalus the second, I believe it is. So obviously Garura for fusions, Aggregator for Xyzes, Bucephalus for links, so and obviously Bucephalus can then send the Garura so that you can get your draw 1, which is really, really nice. There are a couple of other things, like as mentioned earlier, you can play Edding Master Packbit or Malong if you want a synchro target. One thing that I really, really liked was playing Evil Twin Trouble Sunny with the Kisa Kill and Leela in the side, because that's basically 2 forms of removal, kind of like the Aggregator, forces out 2 points of interruption before you have to go into your combos, which is really, really powerful. Now for the side deck, this is going to be very brief because I always believe the side deck is just complete personal preference. So my side deck has been 3 Droll, 3 Lancia and 2 Chaos Hunter for the Malice Hate, 3 Xyz Encore because we do need a way to try and interrupt the Abyss Dweller, because that can be a bastard to deal with during our turn. And then lastly, 3 copies of Solemn Strike, which I think is really, really powerful this format. And then I am playing the 1 Agarth Dragon for time. I wasn't originally playing this. I was originally playing 3 Chaos Hunter. However, during one of my OTS championships that I competed in, I didn't have the time card because it didn't arrive in time. I went up against Primite Blue Eyes and I went first game 3 with 2 minutes left, and I just had to go full combo and just take the draw. Unfortunately, that is one of the downsides in this deck, is that you do take a while to do your combo, so that can leave you a little bit shafted in time. So that's why you want to play something like this. Another card that you can play if you wanted another time card is this card here, this Grenosaurus. However, I just personally prefer the Agarth Dragon, so but again, it's to each their own. So yeah, that is it for the deck. I hope that was a bit brief and just a bit simple, not kept you there too long going over it. Apologies if I kind of stuttered or went off on tangents a little bit or anything like that. This is my first time doing a deck profile. I'm just trying to do a bit more different content on this channel. But if you did enjoy it, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, because it does help a lot. You really don't have to do it, but it does indeed help. And again, if you have any questions regarding the deck itself, be sure to leave a comment and I'll be more than happy to answer them. And with that being said, this has been Munchy TCG, and I will see you in a bit.